My name's Daniel, I'm 31, and for most of my life, I've been the quiet one in my family, the one who helps with moving day, who always replies, no worries, in the group chat, who everyone assumes will be fine with being left out, as long as they remember to invite me next time. I don't make scenes. I don't argue. I learned early that in my family, the loudest voice wins, and mine was never one of them. But that doesn't mean I don't notice things. I notice everything. My younger brother, Chris, has always been the golden child. He's 2 years younger, barely graduated college after bouncing between majors, and now works at a flashy real estate firm where he mostly just posts shirtless, closing day photos with clients and cashes in on charm. I took a quieter path, finance, long hours, no selfies. I bought my first property at 28, helped my parents pay off their mortgage after Dad's back injury, and even gave Chris a loan once to cover rent when he first moved to the city. But no one remembers that. What they do remember is that Chris makes people laugh, that he's fun and good energy. Meanwhile, I'm told I take things too seriously. This year, our birthdays fell just a few weeks apart. Chris's came first. I didn't expect much, but I showed up like I always do. They'd rented out a rooftop lounge downtown, decked out with silver and gold balloons spelling Happy 29th, complete with a photographer, catered hors d'oeuvres, and even a customized cocktail menu with drinks named after his greatest moments. They toasted him like he was a war hero. My mom gave a speech. My dad handed him a velvet box with a Rolex inside. Every man needs a proper timepiece, he said, beaming with pride. Everyone clapped. Chris winked and said, guess I'm finally the favorite for real now. I laughed. Genuinely, I did. Because I knew if I didn't, the room would shift. It always does. My birthday landed on a Tuesday. I didn't expect a rooftop or a Rolex, but I thought maybe dinner, maybe cake. My mom texted me that morning, happy birthday. Family dinner at 6, your dad's grilling. I thanked her. When I arrived, they were already eating. My name wasn't on the group chat earlier that day because, as my sister put it, we figured you'd just show up. I sat down. No decorations. No music. No speech. They brought out a single leftover cupcake, vanilla, the kind I don't even like, with a broken candle jammed into the center. My niece handed me a card with crayon drawings of a donkey on it. It said, congrats on another year of wasted potential. Everyone laughed. I didn't. I couldn't. I just sat there, staring at it, unsure if it was a prank or some cruel family in-joke I wasn't letting on. My dad, seeing the look on my face, chuckled and said, relax, it's just a joke, unless you're still sensitive. I heard my sister whisper yikes, like I was the problem for not playing along. The moment hung heavy in the air. I took out my phone, snapped a photo of the cupcake, the card, and the table. No one noticed. I stood up, said I had to get back to work, and walked out. No one stopped me. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. But I drove straight home, heart thudding, ears ringing with every sentence I didn't say. I looked at the photo again. The cheap paper plate, the stained tablecloth, the half-drunk soda cans, and that card sitting dead center like a middle finger. That night, I opened Instagram and posted the photo with a caption that read, some birthdays come with champagne and Rolexes. Some come with leftovers and reminders you'll never be enough. Cheers to knowing the difference. Within an hour, my phone was buzzing. Old college friends commented things like, what happened? And, are you okay? My cousin, who lives across the country and rarely speaks to the rest of the family, demanded me, this can't be real. Please tell me this isn't your birthday. I didn't respond. I didn't have to. By morning, the post had over 300 likes. I didn't even tag anyone, but the message was clear. That's when the call started. First, my mom, then Chris, then my sister. I didn't answer, but it was my Aunt Maria who finally snapped. She left a voicemail that started with, what did you post? And escalated into her screaming about how private family matters don't belong online, how I was making everyone look bad, and how people at church are asking questions. I listened to the message twice. Then I smiled. Because for once, they were the ones uncomfortable. For once, they had to answer for something. And I wasn't even close to done. I didn't respond to anyone for 2 days. I silenced the group chat, ignored the missed calls, let the messages pile up. They ranged from fake concern, are you okay, to veiled threats, you're really gonna burn bridges over a cupcake. Chris texted, dude, it was just a joke. Don't make it weird. I stared at that one for a while. The same guy who once forgot to show up to my college graduation brunch was now lecturing me on what was weird. I didn't reply. Instead, I made a few changes. First, I locked my Venmo and PayPal accounts. You'd be amazed how often I got, "Hey bro, can you spot me?" requests from family, especially Chris. I deleted every shared account they were using: Netflix, Spotify, the phone plan my sister was on temporarily since 2019. I changed all passwords, pulled my card from the Uber family profile, disconnected my Amazon Prime from my parents' login. It wasn't petty, it was overdue. Second, I cleaned up my feed. I made my Instagram public. I posted a carousel of old photos, me at Chris's birthday, clapping in the background while he opened gifts. A photo of me helping dad with the garage. One from the summer I drove my sister's kids to camp every morning because she needed help. I captioned it simply, "Just a few memories with people who always said they don't know where I got the idea they treat me differently." No names, no tags. But the comments poured in. Friends, coworkers, even a couple of my mom's old friends from book club. Some said things like, "This explains so much," or "Proud of you for speaking up." That afternoon, my sister finally broke. She showed up at my place unannounced, knocking like it was an emergency. When I opened the door, she didn't even say hi. Just walked in and said, "You're blowing this way out of proportion." I leaned on the counter, arms folded, and let her talk. She went on about how our parents meant well, how Chris's party was just easier to plan, how I always make things harder by not being as easygoing. Then she said something that froze me in place. "You always expect people to read your mind. If you wanted a bigger celebration, you should have asked." I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound that startled her. "I have to ask to not be insulted on my birthday?" She blinked. "It was just a joke." "You keep saying that," I replied, "but I don't remember it being funny." She rolled her eyes and muttered, "This is exactly why people don't know how to deal with you." And that was it. That was the moment I stopped trying. I didn't ask her to leave. I just opened the door and stood there until she walked past me, fuming. She didn't say goodbye. That weekend, I got a text from my mom. It was a long paragraph that started with, "You know your father didn't mean it that way," and ended with, "It's time to stop being dramatic." She added a smiley face, as if that softened the blow. But here's the thing about being the quiet one. When we finally speak, people don't know how to handle it. They're used to us swallowing the hurt, shrinking ourselves to keep the peace. They never expect us to push back. They never expect us to document everything. So I did something I never thought I would. I started writing. A blog, anonymous at first. Stories, memories, moments that shaped how I saw my family and how they never really saw me. It wasn't revenge. It was therapy. And people started reading, sharing. One post about being the family's emotional landfill went semi-viral. A local mental health advocate reached out to ask if I'd ever consider turning the post into a series or a podcast. I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no. A week later, my dad called. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. It was short. "Daniel, enough is enough. This has gone too far. You're embarrassing the family." Then a pause. "You've made your point. We're waiting for an apology." The voicemail rattled around in my head for days. You're embarrassing the family. Not hurting them. Not disappointing them. Embarrassing. That word stuck like gum on the sole of a shoe. I replayed the message once, then deleted it. I wasn't going to respond. Not this time. Every bone in my body told me that the next move needed to be deliberate. No more passive silence. No more letting things slide just to keep a brittle peace. This time, I wanted the truth out there, not just in vague Instagram captions or anonymous blog posts, but laid out clearly with names, dates, and memories that never quite healed. That Friday, I booked a session with a local photographer. I wore the same button-down shirt I'd worn to Chris's birthday and asked her to replicate the lighting from the Rooftop lounge. Then I held the joke birthday card in one hand and that leftover cupcake in the other, the frosting slightly melted, just like it had been. She snapped a dozen shots. On Monday, I posted the most striking one with a new caption. "This was my birthday gift from my family this year. After helping them pay off their mortgage. After bailing out my brother. After covering my niece's tuition deposit when my sister was between jobs. Not asking for applause. Just tired of pretending this didn't happen." The photo spread fast. People I hadn't heard from in years messaged me. High school classmates. An old boss. Even a distant cousin in New Jersey who'd cut contact with our side of the family ages ago. One message read, "This is the most honest thing I've seen in a long time. Thank you." But the comments section, that was something else entirely. Hundreds of strangers chimed in. some sharing similar experiences, others expressing outrage. A few people, probably family friends under burner accounts, accused me of airing dirty laundry and being ungrateful. I didn't respond to them. I didn't have to. The community did it for me. But then came the comment that tipped everything over. Someone with a verified checkmark, an editor from a popular digital magazine, commented, "If you're willing to tell your story, our readers need to hear it. Check your DMs." I sat with that message for hours. Part of me hesitated. I could already hear the accusations, attention-seeking, dramatic, trying to destroy the family for clout. But another part of me, the part that had sat quietly through years of being overlooked, dismissed, and treated like a second-tier sibling, leaned forward and clicked reply. That's how the interview happened. They titled it, "The Invisible Child: What Happens When Families Forget to Celebrate Everyone." It wasn't just about my birthday anymore. It was about patterns, about generational favoritism, about what it means to be the one who always gives, but is never seen. I didn't name names, but I didn't sugarcoat anything either. I shared stories. The time my mom forgot to order my graduation photos, but framed my brother's. The Christmas where Chris got a new laptop while I got socks. The year I organized the entire family vacation, only for them to leave me out of the group photo because you were busy grabbing towels. The article dropped on a Tuesday. By Wednesday morning, it had over 200,000 shares. My inbox was flooded, and that's when the real fallout started. Chris called first. He didn't yell. He didn't swear. His voice was cold, flat in a way I'd never heard before. "You really hate us that much?" I didn't respond right away. I could feel his anger coiling, waiting for something he could pounce on. "I don't hate you," I said, "but I'm done pretending everything's okay just because it's easier for you." He scoffed. "Do you know how this looks?" I had clients message me about that article. Clients, "Daniel, you made us all look like monsters." "No," I said. "You did that yourselves." I just held up the mirror. He hung up. The next day, my mom showed up at my apartment. I didn't let her in. We spoke through the door. She tried to play the victim. "Do you have any idea what you've done to this family?" she said, voice breaking. "People are talking. Your father's blood pressure is through the roof. Your sister can't sleep. And your brother, he's humiliated." I stayed quiet. Then she said it. "You always were the ungrateful one. Not, 'We're sorry.' Not, 'We should have done better.' Ungrateful. Like everything I ever gave them, money, time, love, was just a down payment on silence." I finally replied, my voice calm but firmer than she'd ever heard it. "You gave me a cupcake and a card that said my life was wasted. And now you're angry because I finally agreed." There was a long pause. Then footsteps. Then silence. That night, my phone buzzed again. A screenshot, sent by one of my cousins. It was from the family group chat I was no longer part of. The thread was spiraling. My aunt calling me manipulative, my dad saying I'd brought shame to the family, and Chris threatening to sue if I ever mentioned him publicly again. But it was my sister's message that made me stop cold. "He's always wanted to be the victim. Let him have it. Just don't forget who helped change his diapers." I stared at it for a long time. Not because it hurt. Not anymore. But because I realized they didn't see me. They never had. And now, the world was watching. I let a week pass before responding to any of them. I needed time to think, to feel everything fully instead of stuffing it down like I always had. It felt strange to be seen. Really seen. Not by my family, but by strangers who'd read my story and reached out. Teachers. Therapists. Quiet siblings from loud families. One woman wrote, "I didn't know anyone else had a birthday like mine. I cried reading yours." Another said, "Your post made me call my younger brother just to say sorry. He was always the one who got left behind." And yet, despite all the messages of support, there was a low hum of dread in my chest. Because I knew what was coming. The final pushback. My father called one evening. It was late, later than he usually stayed up, and I answered, partly out of curiosity. There was no hello. Just a sigh, and then, "So is this who you are now?" I didn't answer. "You're throwing dirt on the family name. Dragging us through the mud. For what? Some attention from internet strangers?" I stayed quiet, letting him vent. "Your mother can't show her face at work. Your brother's thinking of moving to get away from the whispers. And you're just, what? Proud of this?" "No," I finally said. "I'm not proud. I'm just not ashamed anymore." He went quiet. That silence told me everything. He wasn't calling to understand. He was calling to scold. And I wasn't his obedient son anymore. "You've made your bed," he said coldly. "Don't expect anyone to help you lie in it." Then he hung up. The next day, I got an email from my landlord. Someone, an anonymous party, had submitted a noise complaint against me. Twice. I lived alone in a quiet unit and hadn't had company in weeks. When I asked for clarification, the landlord said the complaint described hostile-sounding Zoom calls and aggressive outbursts. It was laughable, clearly made up. But the implication was clear. Someone was trying to stir trouble. Then came the worst of it. One of my clients, someone I'd worked with for over 2 years, emailed to let me know they were terminating our contract. No warning. Just a vague, "We've decided to move in a different direction." I wasn't naive. I knew my family had influence. My dad still knew people in finance. My brother had friends in real estate circles. Whispers travel fast. It didn't take long before I connected the dots. They weren't just hurt. They were retaliating. But here's what they didn't count on. I was ready. All those years of being overlooked, underestimated, and written off had taught me how to prepare. I wasn't reckless. I had savings. I had a network now. I had a growing following. And most importantly, I had nothing left to lose. I called the magazine editor who had reached out after the article. Told her I was ready to go deeper. We scheduled a full interview video this time. I didn't hold back. I talked about the manipulation, the favoritism, the emotional debt they held over my head for every dollar they gave or received. I spoke slowly, with the kind of clarity that only comes from years of quiet observation. Then, I started my own site. Not a blog anymore, a full platform. The Quiet Ones, I called it. A space for people who had grown up in families where love came with conditions, where birthdays came with reminders that you weren't enough. I built it from scratch: forums, stories, even a submission portal for people to share anonymously. Within 3 months, the site had over 20,000 members. I started getting invitations to speak. Podcasts, webinars. A few book agents reached out. I was careful not to become some caricature of trauma. I wasn't interested in turning my pain into a performance. But I knew this space mattered. I knew there were more of us than people wanted to admit. Then came the call I didn't expect. Grandma. She was the only one in the family I'd stayed in contact with, my dad's mother. She was quiet, sharp, and often overlooked, much like me. She didn't ask about the article or the site. She just said, "Daniel, I've been meaning to tell you something." I listened. "When your father was your age," she said, "he used to call me a burden. Said I'd never contributed anything. Said I was just another mouth to feed." I didn't speak up. I figured if I stayed quiet long enough, he'd respect me. She paused. He never did. I didn't know what to say. So I said nothing. Then she added, "But you didn't stay quiet. And I'm proud of you for that." It was the first time someone in my family had ever said those words to me. The final break with the rest of them came quietly. I was sent a group email, family updates. It included vacation photos, a note about Chris's new house, and a passing mention that my parents were redoing the will. My name was nowhere in the message. Not even a line saying, "Hope you're well." They had erased me. I should have felt hurt or furious. But all I felt was free. The next time my birthday came around, I didn't wait for anyone to plan something for me. I took the day off, rented a quiet cabin in the mountains, brought my laptop, a few books, and a bottle of wine. I sat on the porch and watched the sun dip below the trees. My phone buzzed with birthday wishes from real friends, from people in the Quiet Ones community, even from old clients who'd become allies. There was no card that mocked my life. No cheap cupcake. No one telling me to relax. Just peace. And that's the thing about walking away from people who never saw your worth. You finally have space to become the person they never believed you could be. That was the year I stopped asking for a seat at their table and built my own instead.